Hello and welcome back to the Tesma YouTube channel. I'm David and today we'll be taking a look at my daily matcha routine. If you haven't seen our earlier how to make matcha video, please check that out first. I'll probably leave a link over here or in the description, as that's a really good starter guide on how to make Usucha. Today we'll go into a deeper dive of my techniques and some little tips, tricks and extras that make my daily routine enjoyable for me. So first we'll break down all of the utensils I have here today, and then I'll walk you through how I make a bowl of tea. So first up, the tea. I like to drink a lot of matcha, so I keep a decent amount sifted in a sifter can, like this one here made by Kutodo. These are great if you drink matcha on the regular, as you don't have to use a handheld sifter every time you want to make a bowl of tea. Instead, this comes with a little mesh screen and a bamboo paddle, and you can pour in as much tea as you'd like 50 grams, and sift through that entire thing in one go. And then you can take the mesh out, give that a wash, and you have your tea set for a few days or up to a week. Today's tea is umezuki, which is an ukumidori sencha from Uji. I also have my chawan setup. So we have a chasen or matcha whisk. This one is a black bamboo, kurotake or shichiku. Shinkazuo, shin referring to the nice curved shape of the tines. Chasen made by Yasaburo Tanimura of Suikaen. This one hasn't been stored particularly well and has developed a nice crack down the side. I recommend keeping these in a nice humid environment. If bamboo gets too dry, it can crack. This is still perfectly usable though, if a bit damaged. I also have a chashaku or matcha scoop. This is a simple white bamboo one, also made by Suikaen, I do believe. I have a chakin. This is a tea cloth made of linen. This style is called hodaori. You can see how coarse the weave is. I really recommend using these when making matcha, as not only is it part of the traditional culture, I also find them to be very useful, as you'll see in a minute. We include these in some of our starter sets, so I thought it'd be prudent to show you how to use one. So you'll want to have it dampened, so you can run it under cold water, soak it in cold water, and wring out as much of that as you can, so it's just a little soft and pliable. There's lots of different ways of folding these. I'll show you the most common, and that is to fold it in thirds, then in half, half again, and then finally, with your thumb in here still, just a little bit, like half an inch or a centimeter, and you can place it in the bowl like that. This is the most common way to fold these among most tea schools, so I fold mine a little differently. And last but not least is the chawan. This is a Mishima chawan made in collaboration with Kengo Sugiwara in Nara Prefecture. Together we designed this bowl based off of an old Korean style. It is a slip inlay, so these flowers are stamped, these lines are carved, and these little patterns are also carved. And white slip, or liquid clay, is put into these impressions, and the excess is wiped away, leaving behind a little decoration. This is an old Korean technique that dates back to the 15 or 1600s. If you don't have a sifter can, you can use one of these handheld sifters. To use them, you can put it on top of the bowl, take your chashaku, scoop out as much tea as you like, place it in the sifter, and sift away. There is a little bit of debate online whether or not you should be using the chashaku to sift the matcha, as the metal ratings of the sieve can be abrasive to the backside of a chashaku. My personal opinion though is that it's up to you. If you have a prized chashaku that you're particularly attached to, such as one made out of silver, or one that you've carved yourself and stabbed in the process of doing so, then perhaps don't use that to sift the matcha, as it can damage the chashaku. But if it's a regular white bamboo chashaku that you're not particularly attached to, then go ahead and use it. In addition to the tea and matcha bowl setup that I've shown you, I have a tray or a bon. This is entirely optional. And I also have my electric kettle and a kensui, or a wastewater bowl. If you're at home, you can just use your kitchen sink or any other bowl, something to collect all the water you use while making tea. To set up, we'll put the chakin in the bowl, rest the chasen not up against it, and place the chashaku face down on the right side. And I'll put that over here. And I'll take my tea caddy and put this over here. So Let's begin. Before I can make tea, I have to heat my water, so I've set my electric kettle to 80 degrees Celsius, which is where I like it. Some people prefer their tea a little colder, around 70-75 degrees Celsius. If you don't have a temperature control kettle, you can just boil water as per usual and leave it for a few minutes to cool, and that should be good enough. So first, I'll move the bowl closer to me so I can whisk easily in it, and I'll move the tea caddy over to the left side. And I'll unpack the bowl and put everything out on the tray. And first we will add hot water to the bowl. This is an important step that I really recommend you do, as it serves quite a few purposes. First, it preheats the tea bowl, so it's nice and warm by the time you make tea in it. And secondly, it allows you to perform something called chasentoji, which is the wetting and inspection of the bamboo whisk. This is really important if you want to keep these whisks nice and usable for a long time. So, now that there's water in the bowl, we can place the whisk in the bowl. And the main idea here is to swish the whisk around in the tea to get the tines nice and wet. Bamboo is much more flexible once it's warm and wet, and that means that when you're whisking tea, these tines are less likely to snap off, as they are quite thin and delicate. So, you can just swish the whisk around in the hot water a little bit. It doesn't take very long to get these tines nice and hot because they're very thin bamboo. Of course, being a tea ceremony practitioner, I'll do this a little more formally. But however you do this, the idea is more or less the same. After you've done this, you can take the whisk out and give it a quick inspection. See that if any of the tines are bent backwards or look like they're going to come off, you can just pick them off and chuck them away, as you don't want them ending up in your bowl of tea because they're not very nice to drink. Now you can give your bowl a little bit of a swirl, make sure it's nice and evenly heated, and dump this water into your kensui or your sink. Now you can take the chakin and use it to wipe up the drips and dry the bowl. It's important that the bowl is nice and dry when you're making tea, as any water will make the tea clump together, which will undo all the important sifting work that you've done. So you'll dry the bottom of the bowl first, and then you can use the chakin to dry the sides of the bowl. And the idea here is that you have a nice, dry and warm bowl. Now it's time to add tea to the bowl, so we'll pick up our chashaku and take the lid off our tea caddy. And usually we recommend using a scale if you haven't done this before, but I make a lot of tea, so I'll eyeball 2 grams, which is usually 2 scoops of tea. Now using the chashaku, you can even out the tea at the bottom of the bowl and tap it on the side of the bowl to get rid of any extra that's stuck to the chashaku. Now when adding water to the tea, there's a little bit of a trick to this. You'll want to add the water to the sides first. This will make sure no tea is stuck to the sides, and then you can go to the middle and fill it up. If you don't do this regularly, I recommend getting a scale to weigh out 60 to 70 milliliters of water. But if you do it enough and you're used to your bowl, you'll be able to eyeball this eventually. Now, when it comes to whisking, there's more than one right way to do it, and I'll show you mine first. We'll take the whisk, put it in the bowl, and have it towards the bottom. And this way, you can incorporate all the tea that's at the bottom of the bowl first, and you'll go in a back and forth motion, incorporating air as you do so. And as you incorporate air, you'll see a foam appear on the surface of the tea. Once you have enough foam to your liking, you can bring the whisk higher in the bowl and break down the larger bubbles until you get a nice, smooth, even foam. If you want to make more foam, you can hold the chasen like this, with the thumb and fingers parallel to the direction of the bamboo, and have your wrist at a slightly higher angle, and that allows you to go back and forth quite quickly. This is much easier if you're standing up and the bowl is at a counter height, or you're on the floor on your knees, and that's pretty hardcore if you do that. But the idea is the same. You want to go back and forth very quickly to incorporate air. And then once you have enough foam, you can break the bubbles nice and gently as you bring the whisk closer to the surface of the tea. And there you have it, the bowl is done. Itadakimasu. It's customary to turn the bowl once or twice, depending on your school, as a show of respect to the bowl. As I mentioned before, today's tea is umezaki from Yoshida Matcha, a farm in Uji in Kyoto. Now, when most matchas say that they're from Uji, they really mean the area surrounding Uji, such as Wazuka, Ujitawara, Shirakawa. But Yoshida Matcha, being a well-established farm, is actually in Uji proper. This matcha is made from the Kumidori cultivar, and it has a really nice, vibrant and fresh flavor profile, which I find really nice for a daily Usucha. Now, to clean up, we can use our hot water again and pour it down the sides of the bowl to clear off any of that foam. Give it a little swirl and dump it into our kensui. And we can add a little extra water to clean our bamboo whisk. I usually do this at the same time, but if there's a lot of foam, it's easier to do the cleaning of the bowl first and then to clean the whisk. To do so, you just give it a little flick and that will shake all the matcha off of the tines. Then you can take your bowl and dump out the rest of the water. Every now and then you'll want to give your whisk a deep cleaning, which will be the topic of a later video. Now when it comes to cleaning your chashaku, you want to use some sort of dry cloth, as if you use a wet cloth or use water to clean it, you'll get the matcha that's on the back of the scoop stuck into the fibers of the bamboo where it can stay there. So a quick wipe with a dry cloth should do the trick. Now we can move things back to where they were. So there you have it, a bowl of matcha made the way that I would make it in the mornings. If you have any thoughts or questions, you can leave them in the comments down below. Please let me know if there's anything that you found particularly useful, anything that varied from how you make matcha. As always, I will leave the links to the teaware and tea that I used in the description down below. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and if you have any ideas for future videos, please let me know. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.